County Industrial Development Agency will conduct a public hearing at 4 p.m. in the Rensselaer County Industrial Development Agency Conference Room of the Quackenbush Building, 333 Broadway, 3rd floor, Troy, New York, on Thursday, August 10th, 2021. I'd like to call that meeting to order, and our first order of business is the public comment period. That time set aside for anyone to make comments either for or against any items that we have on the agenda. I don't believe there's anyone here to do that. So we'll move on to number 2, which is minutes of the previous meeting, July 8th, 2021.
Should be able to see here.
Robin was nice enough to forward that on to us so we could review it.
Jason, we can see and hear you.
Okay, perfect. I'll just keep quiet in the corner here.
Good.
You've all had a chance to review that. Are there any additions, deletions, or corrections to the meeting minutes as submitted to us?
Make a motion to approve as presented.
I have a motion by Ron. Do I hear a second?
I'll second that.
Second by Doug. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None. Motion carried. Third item on the agenda is the budget report. Mary Ellen will ask you to speak to that.
The first report is a statement of financial position. As of 7/31, our total assets are $5,791,435.77, with $5,388,434.21 in cash. We have $176,316.93 in liabilities, so our fund balance is $5,615,118.84. There's no real changes to the balance sheet, statement of financial position. The next statement is the statement of activity, and for the month of July, we have a $122,000 deficit. This is due to promotion, which encompasses expenses from Quaystar and Capital Region planning, events, and our COVID relief expenses. We only had rental income to offset the expenses.
Who's in COVID relief?
That was reimbursement for PPE for fire departments, local fire departments, about 6 of them.
How do we get involved in
That was part of the, if you recall, we talked about the loan fund, grant fund,
Yeah.
based on the ABO granting us the ability to do that. The grant was capped at, I think, 10,000.
Wasn't it 30?
Well, no, one was capped at 10, one was capped at 20, so the loan was capped at 20. And as we started to put it out there, a significant amount of what we felt was the fire districts and the ambulance districts that were incurring a significant amount of expenses that weren't reimbursable for COVID. And the private businesses had both the state and the federal relief coming in. So when we put it out there, most of the businesses that we talked to did not want to follow the guidelines that the state ABO and the controller's office put on us. But the fire districts, since they were part of also part of the legislation when the governor did the temporary approvals for IDAs to do grants and loans, by them being included there, they felt the restrictions weren't as cumbersome as the private sector guys. So we had 3 or 4 of them come and word spread, and it turned out to be most of the not-for-profits in that side of the world had expenses. And how many checks we cut? 6 checks. What was the total number? I can't remember.
26,000.
Yeah, no, it's 21.
26,000.
26,000, 21 on there.
that? So 6 fire departments out of all of the ones that count.
Yeah, there's only 40s, and there was something like 40-something fire departments.
Was city fire departments like Rensselaer, Troy available for that? No.
It went out. We actually went out. We reached out to all of them, as well as some private businesses. So it turned out that there was only 6 that responded, and I had Lucas kind of run them down, making sure that they fulfill the requirements that the state put out, which was mostly receipts. Show us your receipts and what you spent, make sure it was eligible. And they were, so it came out to be
I'm
6.
surprised more didn't take advantage of that. than
Yeah,
6.
we were too, but you know what, Ron, you know, I didn't want to be into this business because we knew the tracking was gonna be, you know, tying up the staff time. And just, great, 6, we did it, I was happy with it, so.
Out of curiosity, was the distinction between a fire district and a fire company, they're both eligible?
Yeah, it was all the not-for-profits in that particular space, and they needed to
There's
show.
a distinction, one's a tax entity, one's not.
Yeah, it didn't matter as far as the state went. It was, if you were not-for-profit in the public service space, it was very broad language for those guys. For businesses, it was very, very narrow.
But thank you.
Okay.
The next report is the P&L for the Quackenbush, and, like we all expect, month over month, we're at a loss, a deficit of $32,000.
Any other questions for Mary Ellen? Do I hear a motion to approve the
I'll bring that
budget report?
budget
Okay.
report to the table.
We have a motion by Doug, do I hear a second?
Second?
Second by Ron, all those in favor?
Uh,
Opposed? None, motion carried. Okay, the next 3 are pilot deviation.
Yeah.
Oh, no, I'm sorry.
We got our
Number
presentation.
4, we're gonna have our presentation by the gentleman on the screen and the other gentleman that's here.
Yep. And we did find out, just full disclosure, we did find out through some, you know, investigative that Jason is a long distant relative of Michael, who's not here.
Yeah.
So, Jason, I noticed you didn't wear a tie, so, but you have a nicer shirt on than what we usually wear.
You didn't put a tie, so I figured
Yeah.
I'd be safe with no tie.
Where's the camera?
Introduce.
Yes, so everyone, Jason Delarocca is our consultant that we hired. He has a track record pretty significant in the gaming software. He's consulted with governments both in North America, Europe, and Asia in helping building different accelerators. Let me introduce the board members as well. Yeah, so I figured. So I think we've sent, you may have Jason's history and background.
And where is he located?
Montreal.
Ah,
So he's on the East Coast, a little farther north. So we have board members here. I don't know, Jason, I'm gonna start with Cindy. I'm not sure how the camera's running.
Yeah, I can see.
Okay, Cindy's waving. Cindy Henninger's our chairman. Nadine is one of our bond counsels. Doug Baldry is a former professor at Hudson Valley for probably almost as long as I have been born. Doug is a
Seems like it.
Yep, board member. Ron Bounds is a former banker and our resident in-house CFO, if you will. He does that. I don't know who he is. Oh, I'm sorry. I can't help it. You get me in trouble.
You forgot my name.
Really, Bill? Bill filmed. He bothers us with our pilots. Renee Powell is a board member who I think you know.
Yeah, we had our board meeting.
Yep, we had our board meeting. Mary Ellen does she's actually our CFO, who takes care of our books. And Robin, who runs my life. If Robin could wave. You've talked to him, haven't you?
No.
Oh, okay. So, and then over outside, I'm assuming it's outside of camera view. I don't know. Can you see Tom in the corner?
No, I don't see Tom, and there's a bearded fellow with a jean shirt, it seems, that kind of stepped out of the way.
Okay.
Yeah.
He's one of our videographers, because we have to stream this live on our or at least put it up live.
Okay.
And then our in-house counsel is Peter. He's sitting over here next to Tom, and I'm sure they're conspiring how to give me problems after this meeting. So
Cool.
with that, I'll give it to Jason.
All right, well, thanks for having me. I mean, it's been a lot of fun working with the IDA team for the past year almost, it seems. I'll do a quick screen share, and hopefully this works, because I have some nice slides, since it is a presentation. Is that coming through okay? Can folks see that?
Yes.
Okay, great. Yeah, all right. Yeah, so as Bob said, I've been working in the game industry almost 25 years now. I used to have more hair, but this fast-paced industry kind of keeps me on my toes. The past decade or so has really been focused around startups, entrepreneurship, economic development, and specifically regional economic development. So as Bob kind of hinted, I do a bunch of work with governments and governmental agencies and economic development agencies similar to the IDA on how to grow their game business, because as it turns out, the game industry is actually quite a lucrative industry and one that's really great for economic development. So originally, I came to the region through CEG, who some years ago was trying to push a broader agenda of supporting the game industry and the companies in the capital region. And then over time, that kind of evolved into this project, which is the accelerator project, the Online Game Center of Excellence, that's really been spearheaded by Bob and Tom. And so I kind of came in as an expert. So I'm going to give you a kind of an overview, and it's not too long. And then if there's any questions or clarifications necessary, we can chat a bit after. And I'll try not to use too much, video game jargon or acronyms and stuff like that. But so we are calling this the Online Game Center of Excellence.
Jason, Tom is waving his finger.
Right.
Okay,
Yeah.
sorry, I just wanted to see if I could get his attention. Hey, Jason, I think it's important if you can just replay the charge that Bob gave you when we first started this adventure.
Yeah, good point, Tom. The main thing, and what really sort of rang out for me, is that Bob wants to create something that's world class. Meaning, this is not sort of just some space to kind of hang out and fiddle around, but really the idea is to be able to build games and products and companies that are world class in nature. That can compete with the biggest studios and the biggest producers around the world, and that's no, easy task. But I do believe it's possible, and in fact, as we get into the presentation, you'll see that there are some companies in the region already that qualify as world class, and so really there's no reason why we can't kind of catalyze the creation of more jobs, more companies, more revenue. And so I think that's probably what Tom is alluding to, is this idea of building something that really can compete on a global scale and not just a hangout place for just tinkering around. All right, so I'll just dive in here, and just as a highlight, because I'm guessing that not all of you really kind of understand the scale of the game industry. The main point here, last year, global revenue was approximately $175 billion, which is much larger than Hollywood. It's much larger than the music business. It's bigger than the book business. It's in fact bigger than Hollywood and the music industry combined. It is the largest entertainment sector in the world. So this is meaningful money. In the next couple of years, we're going to be up past 200 billion, and it is a global market in nature. Of course, the United States is one of the leading markets, but as is Japan and China and much of the European countries and stuff. And it's been growing for the past 2 decades. So this is not a blip, but it's sort of an ongoing growth sector with tremendous revenue potential. So that's just very, very high level in terms of what we're talking about. What's really good about the game industry is it does take desirable new economy jobs. It's engineers, it's programmers, it's designers and animators and writers and project managers. It's all these kind of new economy jobs, new economy type thinkers, and on average, they're well paid. Right, so we can see that the national average is just under $100,000 salary, and in fact, in the state of New York, the average salary for a game developer is $104,500. So, these are not these are not flipping burgers or call center style jobs. These are really high level, meaningful, well paid jobs. And what's also interesting about the game industry, they tend to be full-time employees. These are permanent jobs. There's a studio, they hire their programmers and artists and designers, and they work at that studio on a full-time contract, which is quite different than, let's say, the film industry, which is much more transient, where a shoot comes to town, they're there for a couple of weeks, they take their shots, and then they pack up and go back to California. So the game industry is really a sort of a permanent type establishment. So they're very desirable jobs or desirable type of headcount. In the capital region, as was already hinted, we do have already some global successes. We have just over 20 game studios. One of them just sort of down the street, Velen and Warner Brothers and a bunch of others in the capital region. Just under 500 jobs already working, and plus we've got the great RPI that's producing 50 game degree graduates a year. And the companies in the region have produced some of these global blockbuster games, and some of them even generating more than $1 billion of revenue. So success exists already in the region, and we're trying to build on that success and build on that momentum. So what we're proposing, that was just kind of background, some additional context. And so really what we've been working on is this concept of the online game center of excellence. And here, to Tom's point, we have it right there in the description. It's a world-class initiative to attract and train game development talent and to enable them to create commercial online games for global success. It's a bit of a mouthful, but basically what we're saying is we're just gonna bring in some awesome talent, give them the support, resources, mentorship they need to make blockbuster games and generate millions of dollars of revenue. That's sort of the high level summary. Then we've got this fancy diagram. I kind of won't bore you too much with the details, but the center does have some different moving parts. One piece is training related, so that we will bring in talent that will already have some baseline of game development knowledge, but we're going to be upskilling them and giving them some additional training to make online games. Then we have this kind of, call it like an incubator, venture builder type model, where that talent work on new concepts and they prototype and test to validate the prototype against the market and all that kind of stuff. And then the idea is then they spin out into new companies, since that's where you have the new startups that are created. And then we also have an investor syndicate of private investors that then are able to look at the great projects that are coming out and then back those companies and back those projects. And luckily, because the region does have the success that it has already, the investors will sort of look very favorably to the new output that's coming from the region. And so we do believe there's a great opportunity to attract external private investment dollars to supplement the kind of the seed that we start within the center. So that, at a super high level is kind of what the sausage making looks like. I can bore you for hours in terms of all the details of how all that works, but we can save that for a later date. In terms of the actual economic impact and potential, really we're looking at job creation. The goal is to hit this kind of 300 jobs over 5 years, or 350, I think that was the number we said. In terms of the talent that comes in, the new companies that are created, and then as those companies grow, they'll be bringing additional talent and attracting new employees. So that really is the goal, is to kind of get these companies off the ground, growing, scaling, and adding headcount and bringing bodies to the region. We are looking at a very an inclusion-oriented mandate. In that the game industry historically has been dominated by young white men, as is kind of the stereotype of the nerds and geeks that historically have played games. But in fact, game consumption and game playing is quite diverse. You have billions of players around the world that are playing. and they are of every stripe and color and gender and so on. And so one of the goals of the center is to really be inclusive and allow a diverse range of talent. And in fact, we designed the program specifically to enable it by providing a scholarship to the participants. So part of the budget is to provide a scholarship or kind of a living wage to the participants, and that really does open the door of who can access the program, as opposed to, you know, if you're not offering any kind of wage during that incubation phase, it really limits who has that sort of financial security to kind of throw themselves into this without having any living wage. So we did give that some thought of how to kind of enable a more inclusive type of participation. Here we go. Over 5 years, 150 jobs specifically through talent that come into the training pipeline to go into the incubator. And then for those companies, over time, as they scale, would account for another 200 plus jobs over the span of 5 years. So net, the target is 350 new jobs within five years. In terms of the founding partners, well, of course, Rensselaer County has really taken the charge. And then the Bala brothers from Bellin Studios and Bellin Ventures have been our kind of private sector champions to help us work on this and contribute to the initiative. The CEG, of course, has been a partner as well along the way. And for the training portion, we've had ongoing discussions with RPI, so they're involved as well in the early phases. And then just to close, a little bit on the progress and next steps. On the funding side, we have submitted to an EDA Build to Scale grant. That submission, I think, was back in April or May, and so we are awaiting the awarding hopefully later this month. And in fact, it was that Build to Scale grant was what Senator Schumer came to town and what he was here to support and has backed us on. And then we actually filed for an earmark via Schumer and Senator Gillibrand as well. And so we're kind of fingers crossed for that process as well. More recently, the actual nonprofit entity has been incorporated and established last month. And the initial board is Bob and Renee, and then Guha Bala from Bellin Ventures, who's serving as the chairperson. And what we're working on right now is the 501c3 filing process for the IRS. That paperwork is kind of bouncing around everyone's inboxes and is one of the pieces we're working on. And then in terms of what's coming up next, well, fingers crossed that the EDA grant, we get a positive response from the EDA later this month. And then that's going to kick off the process to look for the executive director. And then there's ongoing work to flesh out and refine the curriculum, which is also an area that I'm spending a bunch of time on myself. So that's the sort of super quick kind of context, background, overview of what it is, and a little bit of impact and kind of what's coming next. Bob, Tom, by all means, if you feel like I missed something, jump in with any additional notes.
Well, I think just from our end, and for the board's consumption, there were 2 times that Senator Schumer was in the area and he referred to this project. So we have a high confidence level that when we know he likes it and he's aware of it and likes it, that we will get some form of earmark to bring this over. The overall 5-year budget was $5 million.
Correct.
So I think I've shared some of that with you guys in the past. So we committed the first 250, I think it was 300 to kind of start it off, and then contingent upon the EDA grant coming in, that was a $750,000 match. So we did approve. I think it was back late fall. I can't remember when.
Earlier this year.
A few meetings ago, we committed to $500,000 contingent upon that. The Bala brothers put up the other 250. So that's getting a little bit of the weeds, but it's showing that we're pretty far along with what we believe is getting financial.
How much gaming activity do we currently have approximately?
In the county or in the region?
Just in Rensselaer County.
Oh, in Rensselaer County, what do we have, Jason?
Oh, Well, that I don't know. I mean, the capital region, it's about 20 studios and almost 500 head count. I'm less familiar with the county, borders to know who's in which sort of zone or not. So that I can't say.
Yeah, but the big boys are here. I mean, Warner Brothers, Valen,
Yeah,
they're
I
here.
have some.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Valen's just down the street from you.
Yep.
And Warner, 5 steps more, and that's probably 150 head count, give or take. Within a 5-minute walk from you.
Yep, and first playable, Toby's here as well.
Oh, yeah, of course, yeah, and Toby, yeah, that's another, I don't know what she's at, 15, 20? Yeah.
Yep.
So, yeah, within a 5-minute walk, you have over 100 staff at a handful of studios.
Go ahead, Tom.
Bob, just for the board, you might want to speak to how the earmark is really going to come through the IDA,
Yeah.
if we get one.
If we get, yeah.
And the timing of, again, you already talked about the 500,000, but
Yeah.
that's a requirement of the EDA grant.
Yeah.
That
So-
we need to make sure that.
So we think the EDA grant, again, the word is by the end of this month, maybe early September, we'll have the notification on the 750 from the EDA grant. So if we get it before the next meeting, we'll probably hear, next month with, saying that we need the 500 to actually check right in which we did approve it. The earmark, we're hoping is in the multi-million-dollar range, and that will probably happen when we see a federal budget. And that process could be anywhere from mid to late fall to early next year. That's kind of a crapshoot down at the federal level. So we're keeping close on it. But we do have very good relationship right now with both Schumer and Gillibrand's office. So we're almost in a daily contact with those guys to how the process is going. So that's kind of like, if you will, a timeline, what we're looking at between the two monies coming in. Is that what you're
Yeah,
referring to?
and I'll just say a quick update that there's still some residual money left over from the initial $300,000 that's committed that will be used to keep us moving forward during the summer and the fall as well.
Yeah.
So,
No, obviously, we're all excited about it. I mean, it's one of the, if you looked at the region, not just obviously we're county-based, but if you looked at the region, this is one of the significant projects that the folks in the capital region are getting, gotten behind.
They keep developing better and better, more advanced hardware to play these screen games on.
Yep. Well, when Schumer was here, part of, I kind of joked and looked at him when I was giving the speech that he's also doing that big chip fab initiative to onshore some of the manufacturing, because clearly there's, we've all read about the semiconductor shortages going on in the car industry, but it also affects every other industry. Well, Jason knows this. How do we play the games? Games are played on the chips. So, that's something that, when we see all these bigger projects happening, that this has an impact on this. So it's definitely something that's well beyond our borders, that we all like.
From training, obviously you got RPI, engineering, et cetera. There's a nice article recently about Anne Marie Lannacy from Albany Can Code, how she's expanded to
Yep.
several areas in New York State. Has she been brought into this
Yeah.
by
Yeah.
Kuha or Kartik to?
Yeah, it was funny. I was at the Valley Cats with Anne Marie about a week or so ago. Her son and my son were in they did the training together, or baseball camp together. We talked about it. She wants to get more engaged because she's still very early on this, and the curriculum is going to be a little more advanced than what she's doing, but she does want to participate. So when that part comes to play, I'm going to turn over to the experts, because that's way above my pay grade when it comes to the coding expertise that will be provided and trained. I even think it's frankly above our, I don't mean to point to Renee, but I think it's because RPI connection. I think it's even above RPI, because you're talking about students and in real world. So I know there's always a training lag from what's needed.
And Bob, just to chime in on the training piece, as you say, it'll be a mixture. Some of it can come from a more traditional, RPI or academic background, but because this area is so fast moving and so advanced technologically, it will require mentorship and coaching from industry, and not just from from the local folks, but also bringing in expertise from California and Seattle and so on for some of that training element. So
Doing this roadshow pitch to both, and there's a longer pitch that we've done with Senator Schumer and Senator Gillibrand on what we've done, plus some industry guys. So yeah, I mean, it's,
Well, I think it's important when we commit that amount of money,
yeah,
that we have a good understanding about where it's going and what the vision is.
yeah. It's good to meet the players too that were engaged, because, you know, the Bala brothers are here. I know Ron's got some history with them, but, you know, most of the other board members haven't met our team. So, you know, Jason is a part of our team. Obviously, you know, the other guys are local, we can meet, but,
Yeah. Okay, moving on to number 5 on the agenda. We discussed this last meeting. I think these are yours, Nadine.
Yes, this last meeting, we authorized the sending of the pilot deviation letters for each of the Tech Valley Greenbush Associate projects. And so the letters have gone out, they have 30-day notice to tax entities, and now we're approving the deviation from their existing pilots via these resolutions. So once these resolutions are adopted, I'll draft the amendment to the pilots, have them signed, and they'll be sent to Mr. Film.
and a second set of eyes to watch.
Questions? We have a resolution authorizing a deviation from the agency's uniform tax exemption policy with respect to the Greenbush Associates LLC 30 Tech Valley project.
I'll move that to the table, Madam Chair.
We have a motion by Doug.
Excuse me.
We have a second.
Second.
Second by Ron. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None. Motion carried. I think this is the same thing as I had for 31. Resolution authorizing a deviation from the agency's uniform tax exemption policy with respect to Greenbush Associates LLC 31 Tech Valley project. Do I hear a motion?
I'll move that to the table,
Okay.
Madam.
We have a
Sure.
motion by Doug. Second.
Second.
Second by Ron. All those in favor? Opposed? None? Motion carried. Number 7. Resolution authorizing a deviation from the agency's uniform tax exemption policy with respect to Greenbush Associates LLC 33 Tech Valley project.
Might as well do the same thing. I'll move that to the table. Madam Chair.
Okay. A motion by Doug.
Second.
Second by Ron. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried.
Yeah.
Other business would be Bob.
Yeah, I just have one quick one, and this is, you know, we're moving forward on the project. If you recall, again, last fall, I think it was, or earlier this year, we approved the GEIS and SCODAP. And as part of that process, the engineering firm that we hired, Bowler, has come up with maybe between 8 and 10 sites that we think are viable to actually, you know, do the deep dive in. And what they asked us, and I wholeheartedly agree, could we be lead agent status? So there's a resolution here, and we could read it, and Peter can fix it, because I didn't run it through Peter. But just essentially requesting that when we go to the town, that we take lead agent status on the GEIS. Because we clearly want this to be depoliticized and have a little more control.
Well, Skodak was in favor of it,
Right,
and since we're funding it, I don't see why we shouldn't be lead agent.
right. So I think we just wanted the formality, you know, the engineers being engineers, they wanted it very formal. So,
Do we need that now?
well, yeah, because we're starting to go to the next level.
Okay.
So we're gonna start
Okay.
doing the deep dives in those particular sites that we found. So Bowler did request a week or so ago, can you just formalize it? Because
Okay.
you know how engineers can be, I guess.
No.
Yeah.
Questions about that for Bob? About us taking lead agency for the EIS and Skodak? Okay, you have it fleshed out, or we're gonna have Peter flesh it out?
Yeah, I'll let
with
Peter,
more?
because, you know, this is what Bowler gave me, and I
Okay.
printed off before we came in, and I didn't think Peter was gonna be here, that's why.
Okay. Do we have a motion for that? With our confidence in Peter to do the right thing by us?
So moved.
We have a motion by Ron, do I hear a second? Second by Renee, all those in favor? Aye, opposed? None, motion carried. Okay.
I can give an update next month on some of the other projects, because we've got, you got the update on the gaming, we're doing very well with that. The offshore wind is, I'll be in Virginia, in Richmond in less than 2 weeks, I think it is, on the 22nd, I leave on a Sunday for a couple of days. There's a significant conference where sea-level folks and the offshore get together. We still have, Monday I have a conference call with one of the bigger players, and it could be a $750 million investment as well as 400 plus jobs. So we're, that's obviously, you guys know, that's part of constantly being out there talking to the right folks. So I can hopefully next month give a better update, a more clear update on that process. Really, that's, we've got the gaming software, we've got the offshore wind, we've got other projects.
The offshore wind would be a manufacturing?
Manufacturing,
Okay.
yes. It would be a significant manufacturing. Yeah. We are, continuing to strengthen our relationship with our federal folks, as you know, as you just witnessed through the report or presentation with Gillibrand and Schumer, but they're also involved in some of these other projects. So we're, I'm likening us to the kind of point of the spear with what's going on in the Capital Region for Economic Development. We are right now the only county that has these kinds of projects going on. And if you saw recently, I think it was last month, I'm pretty sure Robin retweeted it on our site, that in the Northeast, Rensselaer County was the highest, not just New York State, but Northeast, including Providence, we had the highest wage growth. And 2 projects were mentioned in the article, Valen Ventures and Regeneron, as the reasons why. Both of those guys, as you know, based on our history, they've been strong partners of ours for a very long time. So I like to say that really is kind of a little salute to us, that we're doing something right.
Any other questions, comments?
Great.
I just wanted to bring up the fact that we have submitted our answer to the auditors, because there was a time frame we had to submit that.
Yep.
And you had Joe Scott working on that.
Yep, we did it, I signed it, and I'm gonna turn over to Robin, because I feel like Colonel Blake signed stuff for Robin.
Well, no, but Robin was saying that then the auditors have,
So then they
Rebuttal?
will,
Yes.
they will send a report, and we will have to give our response as to what our resolution to the issues will be.
Yeah.
I think it's very important, because
Yeah.
I don't want it to flash up in the Times Union and we haven't done our due diligence.
No, I know I worked with Tom and I was talking to Billy, no, I'm sorry, can I go to Billy? Yeah, so talking to Bill and Robin about what I really want to do is, we're going to know when it's coming out, to be prepared, because clearly we have much higher number of successful pilots that we've managed, and that we're aware of where the errors occurred. And number one, we rectified it, but number two is there's still some communication that needs to occur with the taxing entities that just go ahead and change the assessments without a formal notification and not during a normal change process that did affect the pilot calculations. So yes, incumbent upon us to make sure to double check that, but there's also the local taxing entity not doing a formal notification during the right process.
And that should be brought out.
Yeah,
Because
so
it's not our fault that these taxing entities are not giving us the information.
no, it wasn't. We can't take 100% culpability
No.
on that.
But I just want us to have a rebuttal,
Yes.
that's all.
So we're going to have that, and I'm sure it's going to be a media issue that does come up. So, but I do want. Hey, we've got how many pilots do we manage right now, and how much money do we generate? How many jobs have we created? So it's like finally we can actually get the message out.
Percentage of
It's
error.
such a small
is
percentage of
minute.
error
Right.
compared to the whole picture. Instead of the headline, hey, it was $100,000. Well, wait, there's like out of 30 to 40 million, plus this is what happened, and we've addressed it, but in the meantime, we can also share what we've done overall. I mean, we're pushing multi-billion-dollar worth of investment in the county over the last 10 years.
No, that's good, I just want to be sure we're on top of it.
Yeah, oh yeah, I'm not,
No.
because
Anything
yeah.
else?
If it happens, Billy's going in front anyway.
Anything else?
Nah.
I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion by Ron, do I hear a second for adjournment?
I'll second that.
Renee, second, all in favor? All those opposed, none? Meeting adjourned, thank you.
Umbrella.
Eleven, 9, 6, yes, whatever.
Yes.